Welcome to something short and sweet on the Parsha. This week, Parshas Vayishlach. Many years ago, I gave a drasha sermon on the topic of love. How love can bring a person, has the power to bring a person to do so much for family, for his community. I thought it was a pretty good drasha. One of the gentlemen in the crowd came over to me afterwards and said, "Rabbi, let me tell you something. It's not about love. It's about responsibility." This gentleman could not have been more correct. Parshas Vayishlach. Yaakov Avinu has his fateful meeting with Esav. He comes out pretty well, breaks down the defenses of Esav. And Esav feels the brotherly love. And he's about to go on his way. And he says to Yaakov Avinu, "You know something? We have such great fraternity. There's such great brotherhood between us. Why don't we travel together for a while?" And Yaakov says to himself, "Oy, oy, 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 I thought I would be seeing the back of this gentleman. Now he wants to travel with me." So he thinks for a moment. And he tells Esav the truth. He says, "You know something, Esav? You're the Bechor. I have to honor you. And I have a problem. Because we're going to be traveling together. Did you ever have the situation you're walking with somebody down the street and they're walking 3 steps behind you and you keep on turning like, come, why don't you walk with me? I'm trying to talk to you." It's an honor for the person that you're with to keep pace. So Yaakov Avinu says, "I will want to keep pace with you. But I have you little children and I have flocks of sheep. And I have to take care of them. And if I push and push and push, it might be detrimental to them. And some of them might even die." And if you read the verses carefully, you see his reasoning. He says to Esav, "Olai," and the commentaries explain that he's telling him, "I can't do this to the kids. I'm going to push forward out of honor for you, and it's going to hurt the children. And my responsibility is to take care of the children. Olai, I have to take care of them. And therefore I can't, Esav, I can't travel with you." And the Rosh Hashiva of Henoch Leibowitz, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, made a very insightful point. He said, "Why didn't Yaakov just say, I don't want anything happen to my children because I love them"? Yaakov Avinu loved his children. But he didn't say that. He said, "I'm responsible for the welfare of my children." Reason being, because where love ends, responsibility continues. Responsibility is a greater, deeper motivator than love is. And the Rosh Hashiva explained, it's because responsibility is noveya, it comes from the root character trait of emes, of truth. And like Rabbeinu Yonah says, the essence of the human soul is truth. I once heard Rabbi Yisachar Franz say, "You want to know what the soul is comprised of?" Rabbeinu Yonah says that emes is misodei hanefesh. So the truth, which is responsibility, is going to be a greater machai. So therefore, a husband, when the love is lost, a parent, when unfortunately sometimes the love is lost, and there will not be a motivation because of love, there will be a motivation because of responsibility. I married this woman. I bore this child. I hired these employees. And maybe there's no love lost anymore, but I'm responsible for them. That's what Yaakov Avinu was saying. My nephew, Moshe Yedidya ben Yibodlo, L'chaim Tovim Aruchim, the son of my brother Yechiel Michal, who passed away, who was killed in Gaza just a few weeks ago, was a model of responsibility. Responsibility to his family. Responsibility to his community. There are beautiful, beautiful stories. But his sense of responsibility was an incredibly broad one. It wasn't local. It wasn't specific. It was very large. Moshe Yedidyah would say that when he went into battle with his Saba and Savtas, with his grandparents on his shoulders. What was he saying? Moshe Yedidyah saw himself in a certain place, in a certain time, with a certain mission, based and as another link in the transmission of Judaism, in the transmission of Torah, in the history and the destiny of the Jewish people. And he had a role and he had a mission. He didn't go out to battle alone. His Bubby and his Zaydas were there with him. And this is the way he lived his life. He saw, as Rav Kook so beautifully says on the Yom Kippur davening, say at the end of every Shmona Esrei, Ad Shalom Atzarti Eini Kadai. Until this point, it wasn't worth for me to be born. And he explained so beautifully. Every person has a role. Not born a minute too early or a minute too late to inhabit this planet. And every Jew has that mission to bring about the ultimate redemption, taking from the past and bringing into the future. And therefore Moshe Yedidyah, when he gave to his family, he had the responsibility to his family, the responsibility to his community, the responsibility to his platoon, responsibility to his country. He always saw that in this broader responsibility of a responsibility for the history and the future of Am Yisrael. When we see our role as such, then we're much bigger people. We're not local. We're not particular. We realize that what we do really, really matters. Yaakov Avinu, the great Jews throughout the ages. May we appreciate the role of responsibility. Just today, I was saying this over in shul, and one gentleman piped up from the back of the room, but a rabbi, there's so many people that bear no responsibility. And of course I said, that's the point. The more we bear the responsibility, the more successful we'll be. Every single Jew has an epic role. Moshe Yedidyah gave his life for that role. May we also give our lives, do whatever we can do to fulfill that particular niche that we were born in, to fulfill a responsibility. Thanks so much for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos.